Super. Okay, great. Welcome to our second to last class. Do you want to sit in the back or do you want to move up?
So I asked her, she decided to sit back here.
Did you get my email?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Were you able to do any?
I deciphered a lot of it just because the reason I knew which verse it was. I read the first portion, creation of the world. I'm like, oh, it's Genesis 1:1.
Or chapter 1, but it was like 10 verses. Or,
Yeah. Well, I forgot the first verse was...
Do you want a harder one? I meant to bring it today and I forgot. Okay, you're fine. I love that. I'm good. I'm not feeling this. Okay, so we're going to YouTube this one. Okay, thank you. Okay. How did your homework go this week? Oh, you were at camp. What, did anybody do any homework that I could ask you about, or not really? Just sort of curious. You did. You didn't. How did it go with the passive? Perfect.
I still am having trouble figuring that all out, but it was okay.
Okay. Yeah, I
had to look it up, but whenever I looked it up and then I did it, I was okay.
Okay. And you're just purely in here for the love of Latin, right? You're not a tutor.
Yeah, I'm.
She's here to make sure I am here.
Hey, and your mama is rocking the Latin, so she is going to be a really good resource for your class. Okay.
She knows what I'm supposed to know now.
Can you guys turn to exercise? Well, let's first review our passive. Okay, let's review passive. Are, rit, ter, mer, mini, inter, right? Laudor, laudaris, laudator, laudamer, laudamini, laudantur. Laudabar, laudabaris, laudabator, laudabamer, laudabamini, laubantur. How about laudabor? Laudabor, laudabaris, laudabitor, laudabamor, laudabamini, laudabuntur. Okay, so that was, I know, our mouth, we haven't done it a lot, right? Now if we were to recite the passive perfect, we would do laudatus aum sum, laudatus aum est, laudatus aum est, laudati I a sumus, laudati I a estis, laudati I a sunt. Does that make sense? It probably would only make sense at all to Mrs. Baskind because she did the homework, okay? But anyway, so if we were going to recite, which we're not going to recite right now, but why don't you just look at it in your grammar book for this minute, okay? So what page? Anybody got that page?
52.
Page 58 and 59. Oh, no, that's passive. Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah. So just look at it. You see, we'll just talk about this. If you were in the perfect tense, I have been praised, you use a form of the laudatus aum, fourth principal part, with the present of sum. For imperfect, same principal part with the imperfect of sum, aram, aras, arat. Then if you wanted to do future perfect, same fourth principal part with the future of sum, aro, aris, arit, aris, aritis, arat. Okay? So that's that. Now, I want to turn to exercise 215 for our review before we move on. Okay, just look at all 10 of those words, and are they active or passive? How do you know they're passive?
They got passive endings.
They do, and they're clear, right? You see those endings, you know that you have passive tense, okay? How would you translate number 1?
I was restrained? No.
Okay, so first of all, we look at the endings. We say who's doing it. He, she, it, we, you, they. It's
Interested.
it's
They will be.
they,
Yeah.
okay? So now you have to say to yourself, do we have present imperfect, future perfect, pluperfect? What do we have? What tense do we have here? Now, this word, if you look to the page right below, right across, you see that it's continuo, continuary. So what conjugation is that? Second. Okay, you see the macron over the E, you got second. So now we have ENTUR. So what tense does that tell you something is? Present tense. So how are we going to translate third person plural present tense? Passive voice. Indicative mood. Okay? We know they are, and we want a form of that be, being, or been. Being. And is this?
Restraint.
Restrained, okay. Is another way held in?
Yes.
Okay. They are being restrained. See how that works? What about the next one? Look at number 2. Optinabator. So what do we got? What person's doing it? Okay, third person singular plural.
Which exercise are we on?
215.
193.
Okay. Okay. Third person singular, what tense? Imperfect tense. Ba, exactly. What voice?
Passive.
Passive voice. And what mood? We're still in the indicative. Okay, so what, how are we going to translate this? Third person singular? Give me a he, she, or it.
Be sure it.
He
was being
was being. Okay, maybe it's going to be better. What do you think, Tyler? It was being. If you're going to use occupied, it was being. Maybe the town occupied. Okay. Okay. See how that is? Okay. How about the next one? Terabaris. Okay. What do we got? I'm going to write it here. Terabaris. So what person we got first?
Okay, wait. Which conjugation is it first?
Okay, that's a good question. What conjugation is
We just did that one, didn't we?
tereo? Tereo. Tereo. Anybody? Before I tell you, what would be your guess?
I think it's third.
I was gonna say third as well.
But you know, remember when you have an E and an O, most of the time it's like our second model, moneo. Okay? Our model for second is moneo.
Okay, yeah.
So if you knew this word was tereo, okay, or tereo, okay, then you know you've got a second. Okay, tereo. Okay? So now, what do we got here? Let's start with the person. Second, that's right, we got second person, and you could just ask yourself, singular, singular. Okay, second singular. Now what, okay, but first give me the tense, okay? Because I like to do sort of in order. Person, number, future, passive, indicative. Okay, so then how will we translate this? We know, second, you will be terrified, frightened, yeah, terrified. Okay, see, so break it down like this. When you get to the, you know, you're translating and you want to look, you know, you want to break your verb down. You don't want, it's not a guessing game at all. Okay, it is like a puzzle, and all you have to do is parse it to find out who is doing it, how they're doing it, and when they're doing it. Okay, or whether it's being done to them if it's passive. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, good. So all of this was in the indicative mood. Okay, now the indicative mood has to do with statements and questions. Okay, something is or it isn't. It's the mood of facts and actualities. Okay? I am going to the store. Yep, I'm going there. I love my husband. That's a fact, right? It might be a false fact, but it's still a fact. Okay, but I really do love him. I adore him. So, okay, so think about the indicative mood as the mood of facts and actualities, statements and questions. Okay? Now, who can tell me, this is going to be an easy one, what the imperative mood is. We're not going to learn that today, but what's the imperative? There's 3 moods in Latin. It's command. It's, right. Imperare means to command in Latin. Okay, so that's where we get the word imperative. Okay, to command. We're not talking about that today, but I thought you might want to know the 3rd mood. Okay, today we're going to talk about subjunctive mood. Okay, and this is like wishes, potential, conditions. It's more elusive. Okay, it's sort of like in church here we do a lot of wondering. I wonder about this. I wonder about that. And so this is more like that. You know, can we grasp it? You know, we hardly ever use this in English, but they use it all the time in Latin. Okay, the entire, not the entire, but a great part of the 2nd Henle book deals with the subjunctive. Okay, in all its different forms. So does the 1st book, but usually we don't get to it. That's changing. So anyway, I'm just going to do some English sentences. He goes to the store to buy clothes. Okay? Now, what's the subject of the sentence? He, what's the verb?
Goes.
Okay, what's to the store?
Prepositional phrase.
Okay, in English we would call that a prepositional phrase, right? It's also going to be in Latin, okay? To buy clothes, what will we call that in English?
Another prepositional phrase.
Another prepositional phrase. Mostly that's how it would be. I mean, actually it's not. But that is, you know, how we view it as English, okay? Now in Latin, okay, we would change this to, and if we were doing English correctly, we would do the same thing. In order to, okay? That's the reason, it's the purpose we're going to the store, right? In order to buy clothes, but we don't say that, okay? We just say, he goes to the store to buy clothes, okay? So, this is like a purpose clause, okay, why you're going to the store. We're going to the store in order that he might buy clothes. Does that make sense? Okay, we don't do that in English, okay? It would sound very awkward. Now, that's just to introduce what subjunctive looks like, okay? To form subjunctive in Latin is really easy, okay? So we're going to learn how to form it before we learn how to translate it.
So the to buy clothes would be a
Subordinate clause.
No.
Subjunctive mood.
Subjunctive mood.
Just the to buy clothes part, or the whole thing?
Well, you see, we say to buy clothes,
Right.
okay? But in Latin, it's going to be, it might be to buy clothes, okay? But it also might be in order to buy clothes. It also might be in order that he may buy clothes, okay?
And that part of the sentence is subjunctive.
So that he may buy clothes. Okay, and there's one more. That he may buy clothes. Okay? All this, and I'll just give you, okay? See all this like intro here is all translated by one word in Latin, ut. Okay? When you see ut in Latin, it tells you subjunctive. Your verb is going to be in the subjunctive mood. okay, when you see that word ut. And it can be translated 5 ways. To, in order that, so that, or that. Okay, hopefully I have those right. We'll find out in a little while. I'm on totally the wrong. In order that, in order to. Okay? So no, so that. Okay. Okay, so an ut is going to be it's like a red flag that goes up. Did you learn this already, Jack?
In order to.
Yeah. You learned ut, right, already? Okay. Did you also? Okay. So you guys, you're familiar with that idea. Okay? It's actually nice because when you see ut, you know you've got a subjunctive. Okay? Now, whether you translate it correctly or not, there's another thing. Okay? So now, okay, Jack or Patrick or Tyler, were you in this already?
I was there. However, I comprehended of it when they were saying it. That's a totally different story.
What is the phrase we're going to remember to help us with the You got it?
It's the very beginning of Unit 6. I was never there.
Okay, we're going to remember a phrase that's going to help us. Do you remember the phrase?
Is like what it means, or like.
We hear
A liar.
a liar. You remember this?
He did this.
A liar. Okay, you want to remember this phrase. And we're going to underline the E, the EA, the A, and the IA. Okay? So what we're going to have are stem vowel changes. And this is only, I should write this down. Present subjunctive. You guys must be freezing, but I'm hot. Okay, so first conjugation, the A stem vowel, laudo, laudas, laudat, changes to an E. Okay? Second, we have E, like moneo, mones, monet. E changes to EA. Okay? Third, the stem vowel is I, and it changes to A. Fourth is I, and it changes to IA. We're going to write these all out, and then you can take a picture of this. Okay? So, we have, let's just write it in the present tense. Laudo, lauda. You don't write it. I'm only going to let you write the real thing. Laudamus, laudatis, laudant. Okay? Do you all agree that that's present tense? Pretty easy. So what am I changing the stem vowel to? E. So all I'm going to do is change the stem vowel. And then we're also changing it here, but we have to add the M. Okay? So laudem, laudet, laudet, laudemus, laudetus, laudent. Okay, if we want to have the right macrons, I'll try to do that for you guys. One day I will learn all these. I can't find it. Here we go. Okay, same. Okay. There we go. Same place. Okay. We're not going to talk about how we translate. We're just talking about how we form it right now. Okay, laudem, laudes, laudet, laudamus, laudatus, laudet. Okay? Now, let's do second. What's our model second? Moneo, mones, monet. an E, and we're changing it to an, okay, EA. So we'll just change that to an A. Moneam. Okay, we're going to add an moneas. Moneat. Doesn't it look funny? Moneamus. Moneatis. Moneant. Okay. Okay. So this time then it changes to the A's. Okay?
What page is that?
Oh, it's on page 48 and 49 in your book. Okay? I'll do the same. I'm going to be able to fit one more in here. So we have mito, mitis, mitit, mitimis, mititis, mitunt. Okay, what are we changing the stem vowel to? A, right? Mitom, mitot, mitot, mitant. Okay? Now, can you see one problem? I don't know. You know, this drove me crazy. Things like this drive me crazy. What does that look like? If you were here first hour, you should know.
One of those thingamajiggers.
A different tense, okay? So this looks like the same as we learned today when we're learning third conjugation. Future third conjugation. Okay, mitom. So it's future. But how are you going to know it's subjunctive?
By having
Context.
everything.
Context. No, you're going to know by context. Okay? So depending on if it's in a, you know, a clause that uses a subjunctive or not. Okay? I'm not going to put fourth up there. Do you want, anyone want to take a picture? Or if not, I'm good with
I
that.
will.
Let me erase this red.
This is where I have to take some notes. I can take pictures of it.
Okay? And you might have to come closer because there's a terrible glare. So I don't know if you
There's
can
one on
get
the
it.
top portion.
Oh, only on the top?
Yeah.
Okay.
The lights only shine hard on
So
the
I
top
don't
one,
care if
but-
you come up.
Alright.
Okay. So I've already told you, now when we use to in English, what word are we going to use in the subjunctive? Ut, right? Ut, ut. Okay? Look at exercise 242. Okay, we're not going to translate this. Okay, but I really want to break this down. Okay? Castro wallo munit ut ia defendat. Okay? Now, what's your main clause here? Right. Castro wallo munit. Okay? What's your subordinate clause?
The defendant.
Exactly. Ut ia defendat. Now look at defendat. Okay? Defendo is a third conjugation word. Okay, defendo, defendere, defensi, defensus. Okay? So when you see that A there, because it's third conjugation, it should be an I, defend it, but it's defendat, so you know it's subjunctive. You also know it's subjunctive because it's coming after ut. Okay, ut requires subjunctive. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, let's look at the next one. What's the main clause or the independent clause on number 2?
Domusne primea amicus.
Exactly. Demusne primea amicus. Okay, so now what is the subordinate purpose clause? You're not even pronouncing. Ut amicitiam confirmamus. Okay, and confirmo is a first conjugation word. hence you have the E. Okay, so that's why there's an E in it. Okay, number 3, somebody else. Okay, what's your main clause here? Fortiter pugno ut vitam meam conservum. Main independent clause.
Fortier pugno is the independent thing.
Mm-hmm.
And ut vitam meum conservum would be the, not subordinate.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that is the word? Okay,
Yes.
subordinate.
Subordinate purpose clause. Now, purpose clause is, we're saying, what is the purpose that the action happened in the main verb? There's going to be all sorts of different subjunctives. Okay, you're going to have hortatory subjunctive, you're going to have result clauses, you're going to have noun clauses. But today we're just doing purpose clauses, okay? You have a main, let's see if they introduced one earlier. Okay, let's look at, back on page 226. Pugnat ut erbum defendit. He is fighting is the main verb. Okay, I'm on page 226 now. So what is the purpose that he is fighting? He is fighting in order that he may defend the city. Do you see how that's a purpose? Okay, the purpose for his fighting is that he can defend the city. Okay? Now, in Latin, we have primary and secondary tenses. Do you remember how many tenses in the subjunctive mood? I said it really quickly. Does anybody remember how many there are?
Probably 6.
There's not 6. Isn't that nice?
Yes.
3?
I know. There's not 3. They need an even number.
2.
So it's either going to be 2 or 4. It's 4. Okay? So there's 4 tenses, and I'm just going to tell you what they are so you have this in your mind. 4 tenses in the subjunctive. You're going to have present tense, imperfect, you're going to have perfect, and you are going to have pluperfect. And you thought present tense was easy to form? The imperfect subjunctive is even easier to form. Okay? So, just giving you that hint. We might get to it today.
Question.
Yeah.
Is it going to be the exact same thing as the imperfect as it originally is? You're just going to have to know that it is because of the oot.
No.
Okay.
No, but this is easy. I promise you this is easy. But present tense is easy. You just change, if you remember, we
Yeah, you
fear
change
a
the
liar.
easy.
You just change the stem vowel. That's all you have to do there. Now, let's talk about primary tenses. Okay? And secondary tenses for a second. Okay? Now, these are going to be tenses in your main clause. Okay? Primary tenses are present tense, future, and future perfect. Now you see, I can use future and future perfect because your main tense will never have a subjunctive. Okay, your subjunctive will only be in your subordinate purpose clause. Okay, your secondary tenses, which are in your main clause, are imperfect, perfect, and pluperfect. Now, while we're looking here, look at your primary tenses. When do these ones happen?
They're all in the present or future.
Exactly.
The next one's always in either past or present.
Somewhere in the past, right? These are all somewhere,
Finished or not.
whether it's finished or not, they're all in the past. These primary tenses, if you can remember this, are all in the present into the future. Okay? Now, I'm just going to tell you this for your future. We might never get to this. I don't know. Okay? This, remember, in the main clause, if you have a primary tense in your main clause, the only 2 subjunctives you can use are present or perfect. And if you have one of these verbs in your main clause, a secondary verb, you're only going to use imperfect subjunctive or pluperfect. And those are all you have. for the subjunctives, okay? Okay, I'm not done with this, okay?
I know. That's
So-
true. I forgot to take a picture now so I don't forget later.
Now, you're going to use your present subjunctive, how am I going to write this? Let me think. At the same time. If the action is happening at the same time, we'll use a present subjunctive. If the prior action, you'll use the perfect subjunctive, which you're not going to learn today.
Wait.
Okay, so let me give you an
Prior
example.
means past, but yet
Right,
we don't have
I
past
know.
as an option.
We will though, we will. Like, if you wanna say, I ate dinner in order that, because, just take my word for it right now.
Okay.
Okay, I'll get there. And then this is the same thing. This is same time action, and then this is prior action. So it happened before your main clause. Okay, now you can take that picture because I'm done with this chart now. Okay? And now we're just going to talk about this right now and not that. But I just wanted you to have it all laid out there. If your main verb is primary, these are your only two choices.
But you can't use the second one unless you know how to use it.
Well, I know. We'll get there. We might get there, not today. Okay. I can't remember how far I'm going to get. But, okay. So, okay, now turn to page 229. We already went over this, but I want to do it one more time. We can express purpose in English in different ways. He fights in order that he may defend the city. He fights that he may defend the city. He fights in order to defend the city. He fights to defend the city. Now those words in italics are translated by what word in Latin? Ut. Very good. And you're going to find these all, they'll use them all differently. So you have to be able to recognize, I always use in order that. Okay? And I just go IOT. I don't like writing it out all the time. So IOT in order that. But you have to recognize them, because if you look at exercise 245, they fight to defend the lives of good men. Well, there you go. There's no in order that they may defend the lives of good men, in order to defend the lives of good men. Okay, but we know that that is an ut. That to stands for ut. Now, if we looked at number 2, he fortifies the hill with a rampart to hold it. What are we going to do? Ut, right? How about they are sending grain in order to strengthen peace?
Yep.
Another ut, right? So you've got ut in all of those. Okay, you can translate it all those different ways. Okay? Okay. Let's look at, I want you all to take exercise 244, number 1, and try to translate it.
Out loud or?
Just, no, not out loud. Do you need a piece of paper? Because I've got paper. No free rides right now. Need a pen? I don't know if I have that. Let me see. You just,
I'll have another one.
So.
got it. Okay, so give yourself a minute to translate the first sentence of exercise 244. Is anybody stuck?
Yeah, I'm way behind.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. And sometimes we don't know all the words that are even in the sentence, you know, so. Anybody get it?
I know most of them.
I think I got it.
I'm working on the wording for it. I know what
It's not even the main clause.
The main
isn't-
clause where I.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
I know the second portion.
Okay, Patrick, what do you got?
Is it the soldiers' desirous of glory fight?
That's okay, let's stop right there. The soldiers, remember, cupidus is one of those special adjectives that you need to be aware of. It matches the soldiers, it's in the same case because it's an adjective, but it takes the case, right, of the genitive, so that's desirous of glory or eager for glory. Okay, fight. Okay, you want to finish it up, Patrick?
In order to conquer the enemy.
Okay, in order to conquer the enemy. How else can you say that besides in order to conquer the enemy?
In order to may not,
Yeah.
That they may conquer the enemy. Excellent. Anybody else? Just in order to conquer the enemy.
or in order that they may conquer.
In order that they may conquer the enemy. Okay, so you got that? Try the next one. Okay?
What was the first part on that again?
Okay.
Where did desire fit in?
Okay, the cupidi is a special adjective. It's it really tricks people up a lot. So that means the soldiers desirous. It's an adjective modifying soldiers, desirous of glory, fight. Okay, so do you see how soldiers gloriae cupidi all goes together? The soldiers desirous of glory, fight. In order that they may conquer the enemy. Was anybody tempted to say in order that the enemy may conquer?
That's what I wrote.
Okay, in order that the enemy may conquer?
Or that they may conquer the enemy.
Oh, that's perfect, yeah. Okay, go on to number 2. Now we should know these words, so maybe this will be, you already got it? Okay, anybody got a translation for question number 2?
Oh, I thought you were writing on the board, so like,
No, I just want to get ready to what I'm doing next, trying to save time.
Will the free men fight?
Yeah.
But
Okay,
that's
will
right.
free men fight? Subjunctive.
Always.
Always.
freemen always fight in order, I want to say, I know it's servant and we, what did it say?
Okay, anybody have it already translated? In order.
State will aid them?
Ah. What case is civitatem nostrum? What case is that? Accusative. So that can't be, don't make that your subject. Okay?
Okay, that's right. Okay.
Okay, so be careful about that. Okay, will free men fight always?
In order that slaves.
You know what, that word, I know we want to do that. That word is serwo, serwari, serwawis. It means to guard or keep. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so how about that?
Yeah.
Try now. Anybody nostrum? What do you think nostrum means? Excellent. Hour. So will free men always fight?
Oh, so that we may defend, or
Yeah.
guard our state.
In order to guard our state. What else? In order that they may guard our state. In order to guard our state, in order to keep our state. Okay, so make sure you're working all 4 of those.
I wrote
Jack.
in order that our state may be guarded.
The problem with that is you've just turned it passive. You see, when you put that, in order that our state may be guarded, that turns it passive. And I know that's a real easy to do that. So try to keep it active and don't use be, being, been. Okay? Now let's do it from English to Latin. Okay?
Yay.
You love it. Okay. So let's just do the same thing. Where's our main, who knows our main phrase? Our independent clause.
They fight.
They fight. Excellent. Subject? They. Verb? Tense? Present. Okay? So we've got a primary tense, present tense. Okay? So now here's our whole. Okay? Alright, what's our subject?
Why?
Okay, so-
Ah, it's they implied, right? So what do we do with two? Let's just talk about this. Ut. Okay? Ut. Okay? Ut. Okay? Now, we don't see they, but remember one of the translations is, in order that they may defend the lives of good men. So I'm just helping you to think this through. There's other ways to do it. So you're not seeing the subject, okay? Let's talk about, this is your verb, right? Okay? But how are you going to know, like, okay, what tense is this? Present. Okay, if we have a primary tense here, we have to have a present subjunctive. So this is present tense. What person? Third person, singular or plural?
Plural.
Okay, it's going back here. If this was he fights, then this would be third singular. Okay? It's referring back to this. So third plural, present tense. Okay, we know it's active voice. But what mood do we have now? Why do we have subjunctive? Ut tells us we have to have one. So we have to have a subjunctive. Okay, what's our direct object? Lives, good. So we got accusative case there. And what about of good men? What do we got? What case we got there? Genitive, excellent. Okay, of good men will give us genitive. Okay, let's start translating a little bit, okay? So, what's they fight? Ugnon. Yeah. Okay, then I got ut. Okay, let's forget this for a second and deal with lives. What's the word for lives? Vita. Okay, so we're going to give it to me an accusative plural. Plural.
Oh.
Vitas, right? Vitas of good men. Who's got that for me?
We're.
Okay. Be careful. We're is the right thing, but now genitive, and is it singular or plural?
Plural.
Okay. Forum. Bonorum. Okay, now write down on your paper what this word is going to look like.
Okay, I don't remember what that word is.
Oh, it's just defendo. Okay, so
Oh, different type.
defendo, defendere, defensi, defensum. You probably even want that, so you can know what. Okay. Encourage, not mock. Okay. What do you think, Tammy?
Defendant.
It is. Okay, give yourself a pat on the back. Okay, once you get this subjunctive, now let's talk about the different ways. They fight to defend the lives of good men. They fight in order that, or in order to defend the lives of good men. in order that they may defend the lives of good men. Just keep all those different ways to translate it in your mind. Okay?
So basically, when we have an infinitive phrase, we need to change it into a subjunctive clause.
Okay, so that's what you're calling it, an infinitive
There
phrase.
you go, there you go. I couldn't
Oh,
remember either.
that's awesome. I'm going to try to remember that. Because there's nowhere in here or the grammar book that will say that.
Okay.
So, maybe.
What's your infinitive phrase?
You know what?
Yeah.
Read through your grammar book this week and maybe you come and you say, you know, number this one does say it. So, okay, now, if we wanted to make this negative, okay, normally we use what word to make things negative? Non. Okay, in the subjunctive, we're going to use nay. Okay? It's easy.
Oh.
It's easy. So, it's no biggie. No biggie. You'll get this fast.
That's the question thing.
That's the question.
Oh, yeah, it's by itself. It's all alone. It's not attached to
Think of it this way. Yay,
anything.
nay. Yay, we want this. Nay, we don't want this.
So it's only the question thing if it's attached
That's
to
it.
the verb.
It's a fixed. Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay? So this says they fight lest, which isn't going to make sense here. There's a couple ways. You can say lest they defend the lives of good men, or in order that they may not defend. So in order that not. Okay? Those are the two ways to use
I
nay.
thought lest would have been like, they fight unless. They
No, I know. I'm using a bad example because this is such a positive sentence. We'll do some more. I just wanted to not write a whole new sentence on it. So trust me on this, Tyler. You're either, am I right, Patrick? Either lest or in order that not. Okay? Those are your choices. So now we'll look at it because this is driving you crazy. Okay? Let's look at the example they give us on the top of page 230. Okay? He fights in order that the enemy may not burn the city. He fights lest the enemy burn the city. Pugnat, nay, hostes erbum incendant. Okay? And you
So
see,
instead of oot, it's nay?
instead of ut, it's nay.
Negative.
It's just the negative ut is nay. That's like, it's really not hard. But, you know, just gotta, okay? So, we're gonna look at exercise 246, number 1. Find the verb in the main clause and find the verb in your subordinate purpose clause.
I think I might have done it.
Do you want us to?
No, be quiet.
Just find the verbs. Okay, everyone, I'm not letting anyone answer until everybody finds the verbs in that number 1. Oh, isn't it great? Okay, what's the verb in the main clause?
Portator.
Portator. Portator. Okay? All right, so let's talk about that verb a little bit. What person? What person on that verb? Third person,
Third
singular,
person is present.
present, and passive. And we know it's indicative. Now, what's your verb in this? I love this. Sit is your verb.
But
Okay,
that
I'm
doesn't
gonna.
translate to anything from what
It does. It does. Turn to page 76 in your grammar book.
Okay.
Actually, 77. Okay.
Oh, he, she, they,
It is your present subjunctive of soon. Sim, sis, sit, simus, situs, sint. Okay?
That's this.
Present subjunctive. Don't be tricked.
What?
Okay. 1 minute. Oh, I wish I could go like another 30 minutes. Okay. Translate that sentence.
Entire sentence?
Yes.
Yay.
And you should know all of these words, so that will make it easy. You don't have to look any words up.
Are we supposed to know what A is?
Yeah.
A, floating, it doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm not.
A or of.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, remember, before
Yeah.
a vowel it's of, before
the
a
A
consonant,
and
I
the-
know, it's just A.
Yeah.
It's your ablative of what? Agent, excellent. Anybody conquer this first sentence yet?
Give me another day and then we'll have it.
Come
I could say
on.
it, but I don't want to.
No. Okay, let's do it together. What's this? You got, okay, Jack got it. Everybody stop. Let's see.
Wait, hang on just a second.
Okay, we'll give him a minute. You got it?
Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
did you say burn?
Okay. The servants carried the grain from the camp lest they had a supply of grain. Or
Okay.
that was wrong.
There is some wrongness in there, but you, okay.
The general idea.
The thing is, you said the servants are carrying, right?
The servants carried.
Okay, if you look at the verb portatur, it's passive. So here's where you're going to use the be being been. So, and you gotta, so what did you have? What do you got?
The grain is carried, oh, that's not right, 'cause it needs to be being been.
So
the
if
grain is being
carried.
carried
By the servants.
into the camp
Yeah. Now you need to add, who's doing the action?
by the servants.
By the
and then
servants.
because he said so.
Yeah. So the servants really are carrying the grain, Jack. But you see, when you have it passively, you have to, they're actually the ablative of agent. Okay? The grain is being carried into the camp by the servants. Okay? What?
Let the grain is what?
No, scarcity. Enopia is scarcity.
Lest there be a scarcity of grain.
Yes, lest there be a scarcity of grain, in order that there may not be a scarcity of grain. Okay?
Okay, yeah, I like the in order there may not be less better than less, because less still for some reason to me just sounds like
And
unless this happens.
I really encourage you to use, I know, but if you think of an order that may not, it really does help you to keep that.
Yeah, because less just seems to me like it'd be unless
Okay.
there's a scarcity.
Let's just do one from English to Latin.
But lest there be not.
They fight
Yeah, just unless the orders would be
in order to conquer. Okay, this isn't a negative one, I better do two. Okay, so, this is easy, how fast can we do this? What's they fight?
Huguenot.
Huguenot. Okay, what else? Huguenot, what do you got?
Servants just did conquer.
And then it's like weird, no.
What are we gonna do here? What's the word conquer? We got a couple of choices.
Wink, yeah.
Okay, we'll use winko. What?
Wink count.
Okay, so wing, what? Stem vowel?
Third person plural.
Third person plural, okay. That's not giving me a stem vowel, but that's right.
Oh.
So we have to ask ourselves, we gotta put in the subjunctive.
So which
Which one do you
conjugation
get?
is it?
What conjugation is it? That's what we have to answer ourselves. It's second or third, you're right. It's one of those two.
There's not firsts.
E.
That's
Third.
So what letter am I gonna put here?
A.
A. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, they fight, and look, they look the same, because this is present first, and this is subjunctive third. Okay? So they look the same, okay? In order to conquer. Okay? In order that they may conquer. Good for knowing, Jack, that it was the third person plural, because you gotta go back to see, what you've got. Okay, let's do one more. Let me find a last one. Well, how come they don't have any?
Couldn't this one be a
Oh, here we got a long one. They will fortify the town lest the enemy take it by storm.
Which one's that?
247, number
me-
7.
Do we even know all these words? They
Fortify is
will
mute, that's not.
fortify
What?
Moving
the
around.
Yeah,
town
mute.
lest what?
Subjective.
Lest
will
the
fortify.
enemy
Did something.
take, how about burn it? It's a short, right?
We just know.
We don't have an answer key anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay.
What's the
So,
end verb?
okay, what's your main verb?
Fortify.
Fortify. Oh.
Will fortify.
Will
sorry.
fortify, okay? All right, and you got a subject, main verb. What do we got? Do we have a direct object in our main?
Yeah.
Town, right? We got a direct object.
Oh, and also-
Okay. What are we gonna do with left?
Me.
May.
May. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, so now what's your subject now?
Enemy.
Enemy, verb,
Burnt.
burn, it, direct object.
Um,
Okay?
It wouldn't
So
matter.
let's parse will fortify. What are we gonna do with that? What person? Third,
Bird.
plural, what tense? Future, active, indicative, right? See how we have to do all that now? Because we gotta look. We used to be able to do third, plural, future, but we can't do that anymore. We gotta go all the way. Active or passive, indicative or subjunctive, okay? Third, plural, future, active, indicative. Okay, town, we know it's gonna, what's the word for town?
Gym.
Up and down.
Up and down. Okay, so we'll just stick that up there. So, what's the word for fortify? Okay, so we got, but now we know it's, we can't do that anymore, so we gotta do a munio, so, yeah, you, moon, airy, okay, so what is gonna be, they will fortify. Yep, it's third. So we were working this in the third, so we've got
Direct? Is that right?
moon,
No, that's not right.
I think it's fourth.
What was it?
Mooniant. How,
Oh, I can.
I don't know.
Oh, shoot, that's not good.
Well, somebody look up if it's third or fourth. Do you, I'm glad I'm having to make this point. Do you see the problem if we don't know?
That's the whole problem, because I can't figure this out.
Okay, well, you're going so fast. Tammy, you are doing a great job. No shame. Okay, I can't remember if it's third or fourth, and I've been doing this for 10 years.
It's fourth.
Okay, so I was right. Moving in. Okay, that helps, but we don't want to look too much, because when you, how long does it take you to do your work if you're always looking things up in the back of the book? So let's let that be the exception rather than the rule. Agreed? Yes, I'm right. Okay, they will fortify the town.
But isn't that supposed to be up because it's the direct object?
Well, what case is the direct object in? What's the direct
Oh,
object?
okay, you're right, you're right.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll be done. Money end. Okay, now what's the next word? May. What's the word for enemy?
Host, yeah.
Well, we
Hostes.
hostes. We want it in the subject case. Hostes. Okay. We'll deal with this in a minute. How about it? What is it referring to? The town. And so what?
Pronoun.
Pronouns. We got that chart. Third person pronoun chart. We got it, ia, id, eus, 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 ae, aeum, eam, id.
So we need.
Excellent. Id. Okay?
Because town is neuter.
Town is neuter, and so it's got to be neuter, accusative, singular, id. Now let's deal with burn. What's the word for burn?
Incendo.
Oh, inkendo. Excellent. And we all know what conjugation this is, right?
Third.
Third, inkendo, inkendary. Okay. Well,
Memorized it.
yeah, and also, because you also, if you memorize it, then you know inkendo, inkendary, and kensi, and kensis, okay, then you know it gets really irregular, so you can almost guess it's third. If you sort of know the principal parts, and then it's irregular, you know it's third. So, we're going to go in, can, what? Okay, everybody just think about it. You thinking about it, Tammy?
Because it's in order last.
What? So we gotta put in the subjunctive.
Right.
Okay, so we got third conjugation. Remember, we fear a liar. What stem vowel for third conjugation are we going to?
Is
The letter
ah.
A. And do we need I, you, he, she, it, we, you, or they ending? Stop it, Patrick.
Enemy, so it's
Well, enemy is
Plural.
actually plural.
I thought you were
So,
plural.
A-N-T.
A-N-T, okay, incandant, okay? So that it agrees with enemy, even though it sounds singular, it's plural, okay?
Is the word hostess singular ever used?
It is, yes. Once in a while, you're gonna see it. So, okay, so you see where we're headed? We didn't get to imperfect subjunctive. I didn't know if we would today or not. Okay, but the good news is that means next week on our last week, we'll only do the imperfect subjunctive. We're not going to get into relative clauses, add, and other things. So we'll just deal with the imperfect subjunctive next week, and the rest you'll just have to do on your own. So next week is our last week. Any questions? But don't forget what we're doing now. You guys are all going to review at the beginning of this year. Okay, so, you know, you're learning it this summer, and then you're going to learn it again in the fall.
We
So,
would need this in number 2?
mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
Yes, yes. And in fact, when they introduce subjunctive, I think that's like the last review chapter. Then it gets like chapter by, you know, they're not jamming, okay, you should know all your conjugations, all your passes, at that point, it's a new lesson, subjunctive. Does that make sense? So that's really good.